Hello and welcome to OPM Connect, the program that gives you an insight into government's plans, programs, and policies. I'm Naomi Francis. Today, we look at Jamaica, a digital society. We're pleased to be joined by members from eGov Jamaica Limited. And today we have with us Mr. Maurice Barnes, the CEO of eGov Jamaica. We also have Mr. Philip Freckleton, the department head for Security and IT Risk Management, and also Mr. Devon Sterling, the Senior Director of Operations and Support Services at eGov Jamaica Limited. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. So let me start off with the CEO. Mr. Barnes, tell us really where we are with that project.
All right, so as you mentioned, move to a digital society. There's certain infrastructure that needs to be in place in order to support that move. And as part of that, eGov being the implementation arm for ICT services and support for the government, we have actually embarked on some major projects for upgrade and retrofitted. As you can appreciate, we have a very large project, which we dub GovNet, which is primarily for interconnectivity of government ministries, departments, and agencies. This involves building out of a fiber optic network, broad network across the country. We're currently executing on phase one, which will cover the Kingston metropolitan area. And as you can appreciate, that would pretty much cover about 80% of government, the ministries and departments and agencies.
Yes.
This is a very, very important undertaking because if you want to liken it in terms of infrastructure, if you're talking about like highways which are being built, this will be the basis for a digital superhighway.
Wow.
And it is a very, very critical piece of infrastructure which has to be in place. In addition to that, we've been looking across the GOJ, looking at the various data centers, server rooms that we have, and we're also looking to consolidate those into a GOJ data center.
So it's transforming and creating more efficiencies as well.
That's correct.
Let me get to the point that I think most Jamaicans have in the back of their head: security. What foolproof mechanisms are in place, or if there are any, that we can ensure that Jamaicans are comfortable when we talk about data security?
Well, I don't know if foolproof is a good word, but eGov has adopted an international best practice standard for security.
Yes.
The ISO 27001 standard. We have been working to implement our security based on that standard for the last couple of years. And we're at the point now where we expect to be officially certified as compliant sometime during the next fiscal year. We look at the approach we use. We look at the risk to the information, and we build controls in to ensure that it is secured based on the risk we have. So only people who need to have access to particular data will be able to access it, for example. We have processes in place, we have controls in place to make sure that the data is always available to who it needs to be available to.
And wouldn't it be safer in the hands of a government as opposed to a private entity, really, your information?
Yes. Because now, the government will be held accountable and people will now have a recourse, certainly as part of it being in the Data Protection Act.
So, Mr. Sterling, what are the projects now specific to eGov that are being worked on and to be rolled out so the government, I beg your pardon, the public at large can see and feel and get a better experience?
Well, the two major projects, the CEO touched on them earlier. And that's GovNet, the government-wide ICT infrastructure to connect government entities, and the data center upgrade. Right. Those two are essentially geared towards improving service delivery of government. So the citizens are real, whereas that they might not see what is happening in the background, they will feel that improvement, they will see that improvement in
give us
services.
some examples.
So for those of us who go to the tax offices to pay taxes, you would have seen the improvement.
Yes.
You would have seen the productivity and efficiency gains there. I mean, that again is because of the work we do on the back end. So whereas we don't interface directly with the public, the services that we provide to the entities that then provide services to the public, is felt. Again, you can look at customs and the whole paperless, trying to make that experience a lot smoother and frictionless. Again, those are some of the projects. You look at the HR system, the
Yes.
GOJ-wide HR system that is being implemented now. Again, that will not just save the government a lot of money, but hopefully, improve the experience again from the customer having to interact with those systems and from the people who then having to interact with those service providers.
Let's get down to some nitty-gritties then in terms of data connectivity and what eGov is doing to ensure that there's a seamless process there.
Okay. Yeah, I could speak to that. We are currently working on a project to implement what we call JDXP, it's the Jamaica Data Exchange Platform. What this platform is, it's going to be a secure, fully redundant platform to allow the sharing of data and the transmission of information between entities within the government, as well as for approved private sector use. This is similar to looking at the Estonian model. In Estonia, they have what they call X-Road. And this is what basically their government is built on, which promotes the secured sharing of information. When our data protection law takes effect, the platform will also facilitate that particular act, in that it will be able to monitor who has access to what data and to ensure that only persons who are authorized to access data can access data. If there are any breaches, those things can be detected on this particular platform. So it's something that we're working on. It's fully homegrown, and we, certainly before the end of the financial year, we'll have a version of it.
Wow.
It's also got to be the start of what we're looking at, what we call a once-only policy,
Yes.
where we want to move to having information or data within government that only the owners of that data will be responsible for maintaining that data. So for example, and I think when it is that NIDS gets implemented, the personal information that's in NIDS will only be stored by NERA, and no other entity within government will be able to store that information or maintain that information. If you need that information, you'll have to access it. So in other words, when you do business with the government, the information that you give to one entity, you'll not be required to be able to give that to each and every entity multiple times. We're also looking at solutions for citizens as well, so talking directly to the citizens. So one of the major projects we're looking at right now is to have a sort of a e-participation, e-engagement mobile app and platform for citizens, which will allow citizens to interface with government, give ideas. They'll be able to submit issues and concerns. If you have potholes on your roads, if you have missing street lights, garbage collection, etc.
And certainly we'd expect that the response time then would increase and improve.
Exactly.
So efficiency
this is
all
something
around.
which we want to bring in all the stakeholders across GOJ to be a part of that platform. And that's something that we're coming out with very soon. There's the Tax Administration of Jamaica. We're also working with them on a mobile app as well, which will allow, like you said, paying taxes much easier. We're working with National Security.
So I could pay my taxes from my cell phone
and
credit card,
within
and
a
that's
couple
it.
of weeks, you should be able to go on and do your property taxes, and then we'll roll that out to traffic tickets. We're also working with the Minister of National Security, with the JCF as well, on other mobile capabilities for the police force. So we're doing quite a lot at eGov. We've recently starting to build out an innovation lab to sort of focus on these more citizen-centric applications.
In closing then, let me start with Mr. Sterling in terms of looking at really this possibility of a digital society and how soon we can get there.
The foundation of that is connectedness. And that's why you're here, we're talking about governance. If people are able to connect, entities are able to connect, then, we want it to be where that you can sit in the comfort of your home and do your business with government, right? For us to get there now, we have to have that infrastructure that facilitates that interconnectedness among all government service providers so that we can share information, share databases, and make that experience available to the public. I couldn't give you a definite date.
No,
There are projects that are in executing
Yes.
phase now that will make some of these services come online faster.
Mr. Freckleton, I come to you because everybody always talks about security, security, security. And so as we close, your last words on this issue of security and ensuring that our data is protected as well.
I think the citizens can be assured that at eGov, we are doing everything that needs to be done to ensure that the data that we hold is secure.
All right. And so, CEO, you get the final word, For those who are skeptics, really, what would you say as we close?
Well, first, certainly, digital transformation is not an event. It's a journey. And the most important thing is that we've started. We're on the road, and we're heading in the right direction. And I think what is required of us right now is to just maintain that focus and continue to roll out. And also to keep the citizens as a focal point and let the citizens drive that transformation in terms of what services are rolled out to them.
Absolutely. I like that because it has to be a responsive approach as well.
That's correct.
The citizens in terms of getting the services to them, but also hearing from them
Yes.
in terms of how we tweak and improve the system. So thank you so much. eGov is doing so much work that so many Jamaicans don't realize, but I thank you all for the service that you do. This has been another edition of OPM Connect. Join us next week for another very interesting discussion.